Jin feels for the slain guards, but now is not the time to lose his composure. He has only learned the ugly truth of these ruins, and is also fearful that his sisters also know, and this is the reason why he was sent here. Despite all of this, he still has a mission to complete. Jin ponders on a way to hurt the Zipfels. Even if he publicizes this information, they're just gonna deny it. But creating living golems is a capital crime, and then get the Empire to start investigating. All Jin can do now is collect evidence and continue the mission. Jin can't worry about this problem anymore, and needs to find the artifacts. Jin noticed that there isn't any movement towards his position, and despite the golems, the warehouse is still lightly guarded, letting him know that there isn't anything of importance inside. He inspects the barriers on various objects that appear simple, but a bowl catches his eye that has a much more complex barrier. Normally, Jin would have to use a lot of effort to dispel this barrier. But with the 2 dead guards outside, it's only a matter of time before the camp is alerted. He begins casting a Rasengan-looking blue fireball and casts another red one in his other hands. After applying spiritual energy, he casts Flame Explosion. The scene shifts to Mew and Anne getting pimp slapped, and I'm loving this chapter already. Luna is showing the girls what the hell is up, asking why they're trying so hard to kill a kid 10 years younger than them. Luna wants to answer on why he's being targeted already, even though there's an unspoken rule. Luna is ashamed of her sisters for acting this way. Mew tries to lash out since Luna never had any interest in the family, but Luna answers that she usually wouldn't defend him, but he completed their trapped mission and has just returned. She's ashamed in her sisters, since they only helped further his fame. Never in history has a flag bearer been humiliated by the youngest. She warns the 2 what will happen next if they continue their hunt. Jin is not merciful. Luna is concerned for them as an older sister and returns to her room. Her nanny inquires on why Luna pushed the 2 sisters so soon. She is worried about Mew and Anne since Jin is not the type to forget who betrayed him. What? Now they're worried about them? Jin's like 15. They had like all these years. Well, okay, let me not get into this. Luna just changes the topic and asks if the nanny looked into the subject that she requested. She says that she did, and the assassination attempt was not ordered by Mew and Anne. Luna begins ruling out other members of the family, and only a couple remain: Joshua, Ran, and Vigo, and Lady Lunita, but I don't think Lunita did anything. Ran and Vigo are excluded, and all the others cannot be investigated easily. There will be a problem continuing this investigation, so for now they should keep watch and dig more once they find someone with a motive. We switch to Jin, who returns to his room and greets Gilly and Murakan. Gilly rushes to him concerned about his safety, but is happy to see him completely unharmed. She even adds that if anything ever happened to him, she would scour the earth and give her own life as revenge. Me and Murakan have the same reaction here. That's some scary stuff. Murakan in his cat form asks if Jin made the report properly. Jin tells him that he did, but everyone is assuming that he's receiving outside help. But that doesn't bother Jin. More importantly, Jin pulls out the golden heart and shows it to the 2. Murakan comments that Jin is lucky to be alive after facing one of these things, asking where he found it, but is shocked to hear that the guards in the camp were living golems with regeneration, but died as soon as their cores were damaged. Murakan is in deep thought. He thinks about the cemetery giant and the living golems. What on earth are these Zipfels up to? He tells Jin to make some time soon. He and Murakan will have to go back there. This mission is of top priority. They need to get to the bottom of this situation before it gets out of hand. Jin is hesitant to return, but is more confident with the shadow dragon by his side, and maybe they can find the fountain of mana. Jin agrees to the proposal, and shortly after the mission, the 3 stooges that tried to sabotage him also return, but they were exiled from the clan, even though they quote-unquote completed their mission. Then, in June 1795, Jin is officially cleared from his Clearstone training, and we see the Tona twins still laboring about. Zed tells Jin that he will receive new training and to speak with the Patriarch next week. The twins are worried that Jin will already be a flag bearer. However, there's one step before that, the provisional flag bearer. One has to become a provisional flag bearer in order to accumulate honor to really become a true flag bearer, and he has to do this alone. This idea excites Jin, however, because he can get stronger without looking behind his back or hiding his abilities. Before I go on, how come every time we see the Patriarch, he's looking so badass? Anyways, we see this cool shot of Siren leading his troops through a snowy mountain range. One of his men informs him that they will soon reach the Garden of Swords in about 2 hours. Siren comments on his youngest son who interrupted his training. He was thinking of being alone in the Black Sea for 10 years. But even now, Jin has done something that requires his attention. Kana continues that he always felt something different in Jin, but never expected him to reach such heights. And what he's been doing is truly shocking. His fighting spirit isn't normal. He doesn't resemble a normal kid. He has the pain of regret in his eyes, even though he tries to hide it. Siren can't forget how he threatened his siblings right when he got to the garden. Even though, without being told, he immediately knows the rule of crushing your opponents. Even though the other brats tried to hold him down, he survived and came back stronger every time. And Mamet, Colon Ruins, and even fought a white wolf one-on-one, and even proved that he will never waver on his creed. Khan wonders if Jin really killed the white wolf, but Siren firmly believes that he did, but knows he did have some outside help. Siren arrives at the Garden of Swords and the gates open up and everyone bows as he enters. Rosa meets him at the top of the stairs and Siren is impressed with the reception, but is informed that Joshua did everything and the kids are doing well. Siren retorts that if the kids were doing well, he wouldn't have had to come back. Jin thinks that the spotlight will be on him today as Siren and Joshua exchange glances. Siren quickly calls for Ran and Vigo and asks them if they really gave Jin the swords that he gifted them. He is told how the youngest was able to steal it from them after completing his mission. This puts a wide grin on Siren's face as he bursts into laughter. He pats his boys on the shoulders, telling them to steal them back, and Siren jokingly wonders if Jin really is his son. Some time passes and we see the two looking out the window in some father-son bonding time, and this is actually the first banquet Jin has ever been able to go to with his family. In his past life, Jin was forced to hide like some sort of criminal, but now he is the guest of honor. Siren informs Jin that the Rune Candle family rarely hosts banquets, so Jin's actions are truly noteworthy. Jin thanks his father and is asked how many people he thinks are attending. They both assume around 1,000, and Siren says the last banquet they had was around 200 less. So over the years, the more people who attend signify that the clan's authority is growing. Though 1,000 people isn't a lot, especially for a party, for a gathering like this, each person is someone who holds great power, and to have them gathered here is a notable achievement. Siren reflects on the 7 years he spent away, killing demonic beasts in the Black Sea. And even during this time, because of his power, the family continues to grow. And if he disappeared, most of the people attending tonight would also vanish. Jin thinks to himself that he agrees with his father. The Rune Candles are the only people who can directly oppose the Zitfels, but as soon as Siren is out of the picture, the scale is heavily tipped into the favor of the Zitfels. Jin asks his father on this exact situation and tells him that if it came to be, he would abandon the family. This takes Siren off guard, but Jin continues that the fall of the family will be because of the incompetence of the next patriarch. Jin will not die because of someone else's mistakes. This family has too many weaknesses. Siren questions what weaknesses Jin is talking about, but he elaborates saying that he's exchanged the swords from Ran and Vigo to get the commission contracts that are only accessible to flag bearers. The head of the Vergna family tricked the emperor and embezzled the empire's treasure, but here they are at the banquet with no consequence. The Clever family recently asked us to kill Zitfel magicians. Harold's daughter gambled away her treasure, then hired the Rune Candles to recover it, and hasn't paid the fee yet. This is the tip of the iceberg. Jin continues that there are more contracts that only Siren is allowed to see, but Siren questions if Jin thinks that he can protect the family if he was a patriarch. Jin tells him that if the patriarch is not the Genesis Knight, the next important skill that he must possess is negotiation. Siren tells Jin that even the Zitfel family has to deal with similar situations, but Jin stops him. The Zitfels can never justify these actions, because playing the villain is the Rune Candle's job. He finishes his thought by saying that if the next patriarch is unable to see the strengths the family has and can politically maneuver in this environment, he will leave without hesitation. He would make preparations to take revenge on the Zitfels, and Siren laughs, at least his son wants revenge. But you need to be alive in order to take revenge. Siren thinks to himself that not one of his children ever talked so plainly, and especially about the fall of the family, but is impressed that the youngest son can reveal his thoughts so clearly. Jin possesses all the best traits from all of his siblings. It's a shame he's only 15. Siren thinks he can protect the seat of patriarch for another 10 or 15 years, so this is all the time that Jin will have to secure his legacy. Siren signals Jin that it's time to join the party and tells him to come to him once it's over. They have something to speak about. Jin clenches his fist in excitement that this must be for the reserve flag bearer qualification, and this will let him train independently. But all of a sudden an attendant rushes in towards Siren, saying an uninvited guest has arrived. This takes him off guard. The Zitfel family has arrived. Oh shit. Siren isn't pleased and orders his attendant to tell them to leave. Jin thinks on the situation, and Andre's visit is discourteous, but they cannot just disrespect them outright. Siren turns to see what Jin is thinking about. They in turn change the situation. Instead of falling into their ploy, they will allow them to stay, and in the Garden of Swords, the Patriarch's orders are law, and unless Andre wants to leave without legs, he will have to follow Siren's commands. Siren, overlooking the guests, thanks them for coming, and he's overjoyed that he has such a capable son. even in his later years. So first, a round of applause for their youngest son, Jin, as the crowd knows that there's only 2 rules in this banquet. If you get drunk and start fighting, the guards will escort you to the arena. The loser must surrender, and the winner must show mercy. This is a banquet after all. Jin thinks that this is a party of fated meetings. When 1,000 people who rule over the continent are gathered, disputes are bound to arise. If this was a normal banquet, everyone would hide their malice. But in the Garden of Swords, they are free to challenge who they wish, as long as the 2 follow these rules. What a crazy freaking party with that. Siren tells Jin that he can also partake in this tradition, but he's not allowed to duel someone weaker than him. It will be an insult to the clan. And if Jin loses, Siren will confiscate everything from Gilly. Huh? Gilly? Wait a minute. Chill for a sec. Jin thinks to himself this is the first time that he's ever had a real conversation with his father. In his past life, he couldn't even dream of this. But being a loving son is not what he came here to do. He wants to surpass Siren if it's the last thing that he does. Jin is down in the banquet enjoying a drink, and of course the Tona twins appear. They congratulate Jin on being a 5-star, but their voices are a little shaky. Jin asks how their clear stone training is going, and Tona excitedly tells him that they're getting a lot better. Jin whispers to the twins that they can leave once they're satisfied with playing this family act. A head of the Ken clan approaches Jin, and the twins take their leave. Jin says that it's an honor. He heard so many heroic tales of the Ken clan's patriarch when he was a child. And the man just laughs, saying that Jin is embarrassing him right now. And all of a sudden, a man grabs Jin by the back of the head, wondering how he became a 5-star so soon. He's almost 10 years younger than him, and introduces himself as Huger. And he might need to chill before Jin kills his ass. Jin says it's nice to meet him, and he fixes his hair. And Huger is impressed with his composure, but lets him know that even though he's a rune candle, Huger is still his senior in martial arts, and says how proud he is of his junior. Coldly tells him to listen close. His actions just now were an insult to everyone who has shown him his respect. If you want to bring up rankings, you need to be more considerate. The first and second flag bearers of the Ken clans and the Dragon King Knights and the Black King mercenaries are your seniors, no? Look how they treated me. Where do you get off acting like this? Accept your mistake and apologize. And if you do, I will let it slide. Huger is not pleased by the outcome of the situation, but a friend approaches him saying that Jin potentially just saved his life, and to follow his advice. Everybody knows Huger's big mouth was bound to get him into trouble. He coughs and apologizes to his seniors and apologizes to Jin as well. Jin accepts, but now has become an enemy of Huger. Luna approaches impressed on how easily Jin can make people not like him. It might be better to act like a normal kid. And goddamn, Luna's looking fine. They cheer their glasses, and Luna asks what Jin would do if Huger challenged him to a duel. He must be at least 6 stars. But Jin is confident that the Tuco clan's elders would have stepped in and stopped it. Luna is impressed with how thought out Jin handled the situation, and wonders if Jin has a teacher for these kind of things. Luna just wonders if there's anything else to learn but the sword, and this just fits her character, oh my god. Jin says it might be hard for her to understand, but he is the most hated child in the family right now, and he needs to use a lot of tricks in order to survive. Luna thinks Jin is indeed talented, and still ponders on who tried to assassinate him early on. They must have noticed his potential. Luna wraps up the conversation and seems to be leaving because parties aren't her sort of thing, and Jin isn't tall enough to be her dance partner, and tells Jin when he grows up a little, she knows a spot that they can go. Jin looks forward to it, but before she leaves, she thinks she should leave a message just like Jin is doing, and hugs bringing him close. Everyone should understand now how much Luna values Jin, and they will be less rude of him out of fear of the white whale. She takes her leave, and all the party onlookers are shocked to see what just happened. Now we are back to everyone's least favorite character, Bovard, who seems to have a hard-on for Luna, saying how jealous he is. I mean, at least he got good taste in women. He says he wants to sing a poem he made for Luna all night long, and that's disgusting. Vishukel has the same reaction and tells him to shut up, and we are now introduced to that man's younger sister, Margiela. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. She tells her brother to chill, and this matter is really important for Bovard, and Bovard is ecstatic that Margiela understands him, but Vish just sighs in disbelief at what he's seeing right now. Jin notices the group, but doesn't try to say anything just yet, and wonders where the Ziffels are. It's annoying to have to search for them. All of a sudden, a glass is slammed on a table, and now an actually cool character is back, and we see the daughter of the Hidden Tower requesting a drink with Jin. Cyrus and Dorma introduces herself again, and Jin pretends not to know her. Man, this chapter is full of surprises. Cyrus tells Jin that it's an honor to meet him, and he returns the compliment. She questions if he's really 15 years old and the same age as her, and inquires on how he got so strong so fast. Jin just laughs and says it was the Rune Candle's blessed bloodline that made him this strong. The Hidden Palace also has a blessed lineage, and Jin can't even imagine how much Cyrus's mother values her. Cyrus, with a big ego, says of course her mother values her. Unlike Jin, she is the only daughter, and then quickly apologizes if that came off as rude. Jin says it's fine and is actually envious of her. Having siblings can be a pain, but Jin thinks to himself that he is sure she recognized him. Why is she not bringing up Mamin? There is no way being this close to him and she can't put it together. But right on cue, Cyrus asks Jin a question. How is your injured leg? Jin smiles at this question, knowing that the cat is out of the bag. It's alright now thanks to an amazing person who rubbed some medicine on me. He still doesn't know how to repay her. Cyrus smiles and thinks Jin is shameless, and asks why he was at the Moonlight Well. She wants an explanation. Her men still weren't able to find the magic terrorist who blew up the inn. It's hurting her pride, and it made her wonder if the man she let go was a culprit all along. Me? The culprit? Magic? I'm a rune candle. Magic is strictly forbidden. Don't you know anything about my clan? Cyrus says that she doesn't suspect him, but it doesn't change the fact that he was there on a mission, and he could have hired a magician because it was out of his hands. And as the captain of the Hidden Palace's 7 swords, she cannot let this matter slide. Jin is pleased with her thought process, but she mistakenly thinks that he was after a member of the Hidden Palace. And it's not ideal that his thunderbolt did kill a couple members of them. Jin says that there isn't any evidence, and everything that she is saying is only hypothetical. But Cyrus has a plan. She formally challenges Jin to a duel, but Jin responds that his father told him he isn't allowed to fight someone weaker than him, and if she wants to fight him that bad, he has no choice. Jin approaches the arena and tells the guards to leave. Only the medics will stay. One of the guards hands them 2 good swords, and the men seal off the arena for the 2. Jin thinks he needs to take care of this fast because after midnight, all the battle-crazy maniacs start rushing in to duel, and he doesn't want a crowd watching. Cyrus tells Jin that she wants a condition for this fight. If she wins, he will tell her everything that he is hiding, but if Jin wins, she vows to forget ever meeting him. The 2 start the duel, and Jin wastes no time and dashes in, but is surprised to see Cyrus activate myriad ice blades. This is an Endorm ability. She coats her blade with ice, and Jin asks why she's using her secret technique from the start. This isn't fair. As the youngest, he hasn't had the opportunity to learn any secret techniques. Oh, what will he do? Cyrus smiles and slashes Jin's sword, but this isn't her problem. She just continues her offensive. The 2 go back and forth, exchanging blows, and Cyrus is shocked to see that Jin really is 5 stars. As the fight continues, she uses more and more of her secret skills, but it's no use. Cyrus is only 4 stars, but feels that she can bridge the gap by using the 3rd form of Myriad Ice Blades. Since she doesn't have a lot of mana, she can't drag this out. She has to finish the fight quickly. Jin also thinks on the situation and knows that she's bound to use her secret technique, but he doesn't know how strong it will actually be. He might need to use one of his own secret techniques, one of the many that he learned spending years inside of the ancient library. The cold wind brushes by Jin as Cyrus activates her 3rd form. She says it is over as she lets out the ability Avalanche. A large beam of ice aura is launched at Jin, and he is struggling to take it head on, while Cyrus gives him a cold stare. But Jin just smiles. While blood drips from his face, Cyrus is shocked that he's still withstanding her technique. Why does she feel so uneasy? No 5 stars should be able to break through this. All of a sudden, Jin's blade is right in the face of Cyrus, which she barely sidesteps, but sees a mysterious aura coat Jin's blade. A huge explosion is created, and Jin yells for Cyrus, thinking he might have killed her by mistake. Jin begins regretting his decision. He shouldn't have used Storm Blade from the Attila family. It's too destructive for someone like Cyrus. He is worried for her well-being as he calls out for her name. And when the shadows clear, we see her kneeling on the floor. She barely managed to escape that attack. Cyrus is completely in despair. This is the first time she has ever feared death and evaded an attack. Jin holds her shoulder and apologizes. She heard his warning, but at first didn't try to dodge. But no matter how much she values pride and honor, she is only 15 and has a strong desire to live. Jin tells her that he would have done the same as well, but let's not speak of it anymore. Jin doesn't know what to say to comfort her, but Cyrus pulls out medicine and applies some to Jin's face. Jin asks if she is devaluing her own life in the pursuit of being the only successor to the Ice Palace. But Cyrus responds that this is the life that she's always wanted. She takes her defeat and tells Jin that this is the first day that they have ever met. See you tomorrow. Jin is a little taken aback and oddly is unsure of what just happened. And what, you've been slaughtering everybody and now you nervous? What, you got a crush? I mean, he is 15, it's bound to happen. The next day comes and Jin notices that there are fewer people now. And now duels will be allowed to have crowds, so the party will really start. Jin wonders if he will finally be able to meet those Zipfels as well. He's heard the guests from Zipfel are all 15 to 20 years old, and this is perfect. He can compare his magical skill to theirs if he can watch a duel. But Jin does want to ask some questions related to the ruins, and once he becomes a reserve flag bearer, he will have time to investigate. With Murakan's help, finding the Fountain of Mana shouldn't be a problem either. This time around, Jin won't let those bastards mass-produce magicians. Jin is walking around and overhears someone picking up a cat, and he sees Cyrus picking up Murakan, and this puts an incredibly stressed look on his face. She looks at his name and laughs that Jin actually gave something like this to a cat, and we see a murderous aura building around Jin. As Cyrus laughs at this choice, all of a sudden, another voice is heard. He knew if he followed this cat, he will finally be able to find Jin, and reaches his arms out happy that he found him again. Jin seems to not know who this is, or at least is pretending not to. Baradin is depressed that Jin already forgot about him, and starts giving him hints to make Jin remember. Cyrus thinks that this guy is a weirdo and takes Murakan away, and Baradin thinks that surely Jin will remember after this hint, but Jin declines. Baradin tells him that they met at the Mittel teleportation gate. Jin still pretends not to remember, but Baradin tells him his name again, and also tells him not to forget it. Jin slaps his hand, saying of course he knows who he is, but if he's acting like he doesn't, it's because he doesn't want to show his siblings that he could be in contact with his Zipfel. Baradin is ecstatic that he was actually remembered, but is so oblivious to the situation that Jin has just described. Jin wonders if this guy really will become a 9-star mage at 30, and the next patriarch of the Zipfels. Baradin says he's been looking for him in the last 2 hours, and Jin wonders how that could be possible. The place is big, but he should have been able to find him way sooner. Baradin says he's unable to use magic, so it turned out to be harder than he expected. Jin thinks to himself that this guy is all over the place, and Baradin congratulates Jin, and he always knew that his rival would make it big. 5 stars already? That's amazing. But it's not like he's been sleeping either. Baradin's magic is at 6 stars, 1 level above. Jin is taken aback. The greatest prodigy in the Zipfel family is only 6 stars at 18? Is he hiding his real level? But Baradin keeps boasting about his abilities, telling Jin to work hard and maybe he can catch up to him, so they can fight and test their abilities. Whatever the case may be, Jin is in front of the best possible person to test his magical abilities against. Jin tells him that he thought he told him before to learn how to shut up and breathe before letting out so many words. Baradin just laughs, saying Jin sounds like his father, but Jin quickly changes the conversation and asks why the Zipfels came to a party without an invitation, and that was actually Baradin's fault. He nagged his uncle Andre to come so he can meet Jin once again. Jin is taken aback that the vice patriarch would venture into enemy territory just because of a child's tantrum. Baradin says that they were in the area on vacation anyways, so he thought it would be a great idea. This must be destiny. Jin continues his cold attitude toward Baradin, but he doesn't relent on trying to be friends with Jin, telling him to show up to a Zipfel banquet one day too. Jin says that he's awfully lenient, and what if he commits an act of terrorism? Baradin says that he has his word. Even if he does, he will not be killed, and Baradin will not fight him head on. Jin thinks a man talking behind them is a fool, taking Baradin off guard, and Jin is referring to the man staring at him this whole time and signals his attention. It seems to be Bovard. He asks Jin if Lady Luna will come again. This question shocks Jin as well, but he tells him that he wanted to hand her this book that has their faces on it. It's filled with his love and all the poems that he spent months writing. Jin doesn't even know how to react, and Bovard continues, even saying that it will be possible that they will become brother-in-laws. This makes Baradin spit out his drink. He can't keep his composure any longer. On top of threatening his life on multiple occasions, he even talks about laying with his sister. Jin tells this dear guest that he needs a beating. Does Rune Candle look that pathetic in your eyes? He orders the guards to take this man to the arena. Bovard slips up and calls him stepbro again, but tries to apologize, saying that he just wanted to confess his love. He begs and screams of how he can be treated like this. They throw him into the arena, and Jin tells him that they will fight hand to hand. It's about time this guy got the shit kicked out of him. Bovard is immediately regretting his decision, wondering if Jin found out about his attack on him when he was leaving Storm Castle. The news hits and his sister, and they're worried on what will transpire. They leave to go and watch the duel, which gets Cyrus and Murakan's attention as well. Baradin questions why Jin is even fighting this guy when he ignored all of his requests to duel. He continues to ramble on to Cyrus, but she's uninterested in this weirdo and tells him to screw off. Baradin has never seen this man before, but has heard about him from the Ibriano family. Despite his appearance, apparently he is quite skilled. Bovard asks to formally introduce himself to Jin, but Jin interrupts with a fist to the mouth. He doesn't even want to know this scum's name. Bovard isn't a pushover, however, as he coats his punch in aura, ready to retaliate. making Jin believe he must be around 6 stars. Bovard connects with Jin and starts taunting him for daring to challenge him, but before he can finish mocking him, Jin rushes in with a devilish look in his eyes. He unleashes a flurry of strikes which makes Baradin and Cyrus assume that the bout is over. The sisters begin questioning Jin's actions. He's clearly overdoing it, beating Bovard absolutely senseless. But her brother tells him that there's nothing they can do at this Rune Candle banquet. But Margiela wants her brother to teach Jin a lesson, something more honorable than what Jin is doing right now. Two men overhear this conversation and cheer on the idea for someone to kick Jin's ass. It seems he has a lot of haters. Vishukil agrees and calls to Jin, politely asking him to stop using Bovard as a punching bag and to fight him instead. Jin knows about this man and assumes that around this time he's 7 stars. Whether he wins or loses, this is a fight that could give Jin even more influence. Also, it's a good opportunity to get more experience with such a warrior. The previous patriarch of the Briano family was someone that even Siren acknowledged as strong. But Jin is even more interested in his sister, who seems to be quite good at concocting schemes, even putting her brother in this difficult situation. Jin tells Vishukil that he really must love his sister, but he responds saying that that should be obvious. Jin replies that he understands exactly how he feels. He cherishes his sister, and as such, he had to shut his servant up. But is surprised to hear that the guy who he beat up was not a servant, but Bovard Gaston, who apparently Jin wasn't aware that this was actually Bovard, and he's completely shocked at this revelation. Jin begins connecting the dots while Vishukil apologizes for his actions. Bovard didn't have any ill intentions, but Jin keeps trying to think about the connection that these two people have. In his past life, he never heard of the two ever being connected. Does this mean Vishukil is aware of his abilities as a transformation sorcerer? Even though Jin found the man that he was looking for. It's only left him more confused, however. There's no time to think. He's up against a 7-star knight. He needs to focus. Dashes in, but his strike is blocked, and Jin can immediately tell from the strength behind the blow that he is far greater than 7 stars, and even thinks his skill with the sword is on par with Zed's. And the way he's moving his sword is something that Jin can't comprehend at his stage. A crowd begins to build, even praising Jin for holding up so well. Someone comments on the Ibriano swordsmanship and how it's known for its unconventional style. But Baradin thinks to himself that these people know nothing, and only in desperate situations like this can the rune candles really shine. He compares the style of the Ibriano family to a sly snake, and the rune candles to a charging rhino. Even if the rhino's horn breaks, it will never stop charging. Jin, however, is being outmatched, and knows that Vishukil is not using his full strength. Though on paper, Jin is 2 stars below him, but he's putting up a fight. Jin is being battered and cut at the end of every exchange, and is close to his limit. This is the same feeling that he had when he dueled Kajin. He closes his eyes and draws energy into his sword, thanks Jin for the good fight, and rushes in to finish it. Jin stands there unfazed with his aura still emanating from his sword. As it is shattered from the impact, Vishukil's sword is brought close to Jin's neck. As Jin collapses from this intense fight, Vishukil wasn't unscathed. He feels a cut along his neck, and any deeper, his life would have been ended. Vishukil is left perplexed at what just happened as medics rush in to treat Jin. The moment Jin's sword broke, he felt something cut his throat. Did this child just figure out the heart sword while he was fighting? If either man was 1/10 of a second late, it would have meant certain death. What a scary man you are, Jin Rune Candle. We shift back to Jin waking up and Murakan bouncing off of his head. Jin quickly goes to throw him off, but is surprised to see that he's back inside of his room. He questions if he fainted while fighting Vishukil, and Gilly tells him that he's been asleep for over 2 days, while bringing him something to drink. The banquet has ended unfortunately, and Jin didn't get to greet all of the people that he wanted to. Gilly tells him that his duel has become a new hot topic, and everyone was aware of what Jin pulled off before collapsing. And it's astonishing to think that a 5-star at the age of 15 pulled off using the heart sword. Even though the situation didn't go according to plan, Luna's training has paid off, and it still ended with increasing Jin's fame. Jin seems to only be able to use this ability while in extremely stressful situations. Jin didn't want to lose, but he can't be too impatient. It's unheard of for a 5-star to even come close to scratching an 8-star. So he should be proud of his achievement. All in all, he met Baradin and confirmed his status in Zitfel, got a waifu out of Cyrus, and discovered who Bovar has been working with. There's still more things that need to be discovered, but interrupting his thoughts, Gilly puts down some flowers that Cyrus has gifted him. Jin knows the meaning of these flowers in the Ice Palace, and they represent a never-ending fight. It means that she wants to duel Jin again. But Gilly just skips over that fact and is just happy that Jin, for the first time, got a gift from a girl. She switches the topic and tells Jin that the patriarch has requested him. It's time for Jin to prove his worth. Jin assumes that he will be sent far away from the family for some time. Some time passes and we skip to this meeting, and of course course, Jin just can't meet the patriarch for lunch. He has to meet him in the darkest frickin' alleyway of all time. Jin removes his hood and greets his father, and Siren comments that Jin looks like he's prepared to go on a journey by himself. Jin replies that he was planning on leaving soon, and this leaves Siren just sitting there thinking. Jin thinks to himself that ever since he's been reborn, his father has been easier to read. Siren asks if Jin knows the place that they are at. Jin says that he does, and it's the mausoleum. Only renowned members of the family are allowed to enter, and it's also a place where the heroes of Runecandle are buried. Siren continues that Tamar actually is not buried here, and there isn't any graves outside commemorating him either. Siren tells Jin that the dark power that he has is the reason that he cannot be honored. After Tamar died, the pact that they made forbid them to use magic, and also forbid them to honor the ancestors who did. The result of this was Zipfels placing a curse on the Runecandle bloodline, and because of this, all Runecandles born after Tamar were not able to use magic. Once you defeated the Tona twins using magic, I never asked you how you got that power. Jin remembers this conversation, and Siren asks if Jin made a contract with Solderit, and he confirms that he did, and he's also referred to as a contractor. Even though, since he was reborn, he still hasn't heard her voice. Siren asks if Jin will use his power to overcome his siblings and become the next patriarch. This is one of the ideas that Jin has, but first he will travel the world. And if nothing satisfies him more than becoming patriarch, then he'll do just that. Siren smiles and doesn't know whether to be impressed or angry, but he's a little proud of his arrogant son. Siren tells Jin that he has 5 years to either be acknowledged or acknowledge the family. He has that amount of time to come back and give him his answer. Jin holds Bradamante close to his face, swearing to his father that he will do so, and thanks him for everything that he's done. Jin returns to Gilly and Murakan, and all there's really left to do now is begin his journey. Jin notices a briefcase that Gilly is carrying, and it seems to be some sort of device that cancels out aura powers. And even by holding it, Gilly is being weakened. Gilly's life is tied to Jin's, and her fame will rise as he does. Jin tells her, however, that he'll always protect her, and he better. Jin looks back at the Garden of Swords and steels himself, ready to depart. 5 years, huh? That's all the time he has to figure out what kind of path he will take. Jin takes the first steps onto his new journey, one to explore the world. Siren is seen still in the mausoleum, thinking to himself that he's reached the realm of demigod with sword alone, but has still been unable to crush the pact that Zipfels forced upon his family. He thinks on Jin as the chosen one, who has a contract with Solderit and possesses spiritual energy. He might be their last hope, the only child who can free his family. Siren looks forward to the story that Jin will write. We shift back to our protagonist, and Gilly asks him if it was okay to leave without saying goodbye. Lady Luna must be sad. Jin ignites his hand using a fire spell, making some light in the nighttime, and tells Gilly not to worry. She'll be alright. It's not like Jin is heading into a dangerous mission. Jin also didn't say goodbye to his cadets, who probably would have saluted him on his way out, causing some sort of scene, and Jin doesn't like all that attention. Gilly asks what Jin has planned first. Some of the previous flag bearers chose to go to Mammoth, since slaying villains is one of the quickest ways to build fame. A reserve flag bearer's mission is to build the reputation into such that fits the name Runecandle, before they can be officially promoted to flag bearer. For example, Sister Mary went to the southern regions and slaughtered everyone who was considered strong, and that's how she got her nickname. Apart from her, most of Jin's siblings returned within 1 to 2 years. However, Siren has gifted him 5. The only reason Jin can think of this is because Siren wants Jin to unlock his potential with his hidden powers. Jin tells Gilly that they will head to the Arkan Kingdom. Gilly is shocked because the province is Zipfel territory. It seems Jin is heading into the Lion's Den right off the bat. It also seems that Jin, while he was investigating the ruins, has overheard some unlicensed magicians talking about an area within Arkan that is infested with martial artists and magicians who are wreaking havoc. Gilly now loves the idea, reminiscing her young soldier days and how much fun she had killing bad guys. It turns out Jin was actually lying about that scenario, and it seems he knows about this place from his past life. All the unregistered magicians and warriors are a part of a sinister family called Tessing, and what Jin is really after is the black market auction that takes place within this family. There will be many items that hold great value that Jin can make good use of, and a few grimoires that can boost his magical skills. Gilly looks around in her small wallet and regretfully informs Jin that it seems that they're broke and can't afford to take the transportation gate. Jin says he already has a plan for their money problems, and first they will stop by the Gene Kingdom. Gilly still questions how they will get there exactly, but Jin reminds her they can fly. Murakan's eyes light up since he can finally let loose in his dragon form. Despite Gilly's warning, someone might recognize them. Jin thinks it should be fine, however, and they need to at least try it once. Murakan transforms and warns the two to hold on tight. Lady Luna is seen walking around the castle and feels a strange sensation and looks through the window to see Jin riding the dragon. And he was found out almost instantly. At least it was Luna though. Luna is so impressed with her little brother. It's been about 5 seconds since he left and he's already riding a dragon. She scolds him for not saying goodbye, but wishes him the best of luck in his travels, and is excited to see what kind of man he will become. Some time passes and the group lands, and Murakhan grabs his strawberry pie, wondering if she is alright. It seems Gilly has motion sickness, and Murakhan turns enraged at Jin for making Gilly turn out like this. But Jin just reminds him that he was the one who was flying. Murakhan continues to hold Gilly as she's throwing up, and Jin just watches, completely confused, but has some things to do. He suits up and tells the two not to make any scenes. We see a familiar face thinking about Jin and how he had a banquet for his success, but he didn't even find out about it until after it ended. He still doesn't know how to reward him for saving his life and wants to meet him again. But just like typical MC timing, Jin shows up right behind him while he's lamenting. Jin calls out to Sember, and he is startled to see this cloaked figure. But Jin grabs his mouth and reveals his identity. Sember regains his composure, but wants to know how Jin got here. Jin says that Sember said if he needed anything to just come ask. Sember says of course, how could he ever repay Jin's kindness? But Jin just plainly says that he will wait here for Sember to bring him gold and money. And this made me crack up, like you can't say it any nicer, man. Sember is also taken aback by this statement. One of the hidden rules of reserve flag bearers is that they need to hide their identity. The goal is to build a reputation with their own strength, and not from the fame of the family. It is expected for the young rune candles to live poverishly and save up bounties until they can afford the lifestyle that they are used to. But Jin isn't normal, as he pulls out a pouch full of cash, and he and Murakhan are seen eating lavishly as the waiters struggle to bring them more food. The three are walking around the town, satisfied from their meal, and Gilly is relieved that their financial problems were sorted. She expected to starve for the first few days, but Murakhan teases Jin that he extorted money from Sember. But actually that's not the case. He was simply collecting a debt from the young lord, who happily gave him a fat stack. Jin is more worried about how much Murakhan is eating, and what if he uses the transportation gate and throws up, just like last time. But Murakhan just confidently states that he's a binge eater, and he won't change, even for Jin, and says it's Jin's fault that they want to use the transportation gate instead of flying. With Gilly's motion sickness, it's gonna be quite hard to fly, and also, there's another problem. The place they're going to is Zipfil territory, and about 80% of all active dragons are allied with them. They can't just ride in there carelessly. Murakhan just confidently shouts that all of those so-called dragons will tremble in fear once they hear his name. He goes back into his cat form despite Jin's protest not to switch like that in public. Dragons and the gods who are with them, and the contractors tied to those gods, are mostly supporting Zipfil. And on the other hand, Rune Candle only has Jin, Solderet, and Murakhan. If Siren wasn't there, Rune Candle would have already fell. Jin has a realization. How come Zipfil was able to gather so many contractors? To have so many of them on the same side can't be a coincidence. He approaches the transportation gate and the man asks for his ID. He hands the man 2 fake IDs and Jin's alias is Jin Grey. He tells the man that they plan to vacation in Arkan and is let through. Jin sits beside Gilly on the same couch as they wait to be teleported, and as expected, the fake IDs from the families are foolproof. The teleportation starts and Murakhan doesn't look like he can hold down his lunch. Jin thinks that the event he remembered from his past life happened around 15 years from the current date. But even so, the scenery in this place hasn't changed. The streets are riddled with poverty and disease, and most of the citizens have a dark expression. This is all due to the tyranny of the testers. First things first, Jin needs to find somewhere to sleep. They arrive at a pretty shady spot, and Murakhan questions why they have to sleep in this rundown house, even though Jin is filthy rich. Jin just tells him that it'll be too suspicious for a group of unregistered mages to come out of nowhere and also have a ton of money. He tells him to suck it up as the three go inside. They greet the attendant, who is drooling at his desk, but immediately eyeballs his customers, assuming he hit the jackpot. He offers some of the inn's special orange juice, and I wouldn't touch that shit. And just after I thought this, the attendant thinks to himself that the three will wake up in the underground auction house after drinking the poisoned orange juice. Murakhan stares at the drink and his eyes boil with rage. He throws it at the man, doinking him on the head, and questions why he would dare try to poison him. The man tries to question why Murakhan is doing this, but is kicked in the head. The man is on the floor and trembling as Murakhan cracks his fist, telling him that this is the last day that he will spend alive. Murakhan begins whooping his ass, and Jin thinks to himself that this man is Jet, and is actually someone that he was indebted to in his past life. Apparently, the only reason Jin was able to settle down in Arkan after being exiled was due to Jet's help. but it wasn't for a good reason. Jet scammed Jin out of everything to the clothes that he was wearing, and just thinking about this pisses him off. But this time it's different. This time, Jin will be the one using Jet. Jet tries to fight back, even claiming that he's a 5-star magician, but is punched in the face by Murakami. As he's being beat mercilessly, he tries to apologize, saying that it wasn't really poison, just sedated. But Murakami continues his beating, saying that it's the same thing. Jin stops Murakami, saying that they should hear him out. Jet begs for his life and tells Jin to please save him, even calling him my lord. He will atone for his sins. Jin sits atop the desk and tells Jet his options are actually quite simple. Answer the questions he asks, and if he lies, he will die. If he tells the truth, then he will live. Jin will be the judge of the answers based off of his instinct. Jet agrees because he has no other choice and reveals that he is Jet, an inn owner, an informant, a scammer, and a human trafficker. He gets on his hands and knees, telling Jin that if he can be spared, he will be of great use. Jin asks the reason he tried to drug them. Was it to sell us? Jet says that is true, and Jin slams his foot down on his hand, asking where he was planning on selling them. Jet reveals the underground auction house and goes into more detail that it's the Tessing auction house, a dark organization that sells slaves, drugs, and other stolen items. Jin is happy with this information and tells Jet that he will be healed, and he knows what to do next. Jet thanks Jin for his lenience, and Murakami questions why he's being left alive. He might try to scam them again. But Jin says they need a guide in this unknown area, so they need to trust him for now. First, Jin will go find someone to treat him, leaving Gilly and Murakami speechless. As Jin leaves, he thinks to himself that it's hard to act cool when he knows everything. It's so hard not revealing that he's lived another life. Some time passes and the doctor Jin found heals Jet and leaves. Jet curses Jin in his head. How dare he beat me up and then heal me? Just who in the world does this guy think he is? Even assuming that he is the heir to a martial arts family or the special division. It doesn't matter who they are. Jet thinks to himself if he tries to backstab them, it might be the end of him. Jin tells Jet that it's time to go to the underground auction house. We see a shot of this aptly sick mansion with 2 guards at the gate, and these hardasses see Jet leading the group and ask him why he brought so many people today. Jet tells him to shut up and open the door. They are his guests. A man opens the giant door, revealing a high-profile party with everyone wearing masks to probably hide their identity. Even though this place is for gangsters, it sure is classy. Jet says the public thinks a guy named Salka is the boss, but the real boss has the identity hidden. Jet hands the group some masks to blend in. Jin asks who the real boss is and is informed that it's Spider-Hand's Alu, and this place is catered to his tastes. He wants to hide the fact that he is an uneducated criminal, and to someone like Jet, Alu is different. He has the ability to bring order to the streets, and is also a 7-star martial artist. And rumor has it, he has connections to the rune candles. This fact surprises Jin. Murakami tells Jin to ignore it, and even Gilly agrees. Now that she thinks about it, she's never heard of such a man. But Jin remembers that there has to be such a man, the bastard who placed the curse on him, the curse that made him unable to wield a sword. If this man has a connection to the Magic Federation, then he's likely to find the culprit. The 9-star curse, Bladed Illusion. Jin doesn't think that there's any mage in Tessing who's able to cast such a spell. But for the last 15 years, he wasn't even able to find a single clue leading him in the right direction. He needs to start with finding someone who has a motive against him. And the reason he came here anyways was to destroy this entire family. So it's another bonus he gets to check out the identity of this Alu guy.